Your hometown news station, AM 1300 KGLO, and streaming online at kgloam.com. And July is Parks and Recreation Month, right, Brian Pauly?
It is Park and Recreation Month. Bob, thank you again, as always, for having me on this month.
Brian Pauly, the head of Mason City Park and Recreation and Facilities.
That's right.
I always want to get that last part in because I know you're excited about having that last that last part of your title.
That facilities, that's the game changer.
Well, Parks and Recreation Month, and obviously, we look at Mason City and looking at how much parkland is in Mason City compared to other communities, not just in Iowa, but across the nation. We've got a lot.
Yeah, so the National Recreation and Park Association, NRPA, suggest towns our size to have probably only a fourth of what we actually do to actually make sure you have adequate quality of life,
right?
Green spaces for people to recreate in and gather. And we have 4 times that. Just building our 40th park last year with the Riverwalk Park. That's our 40th park we have, which is crazy. We have over 820 acres of green space parkland in our community. That's unheard of when you start looking at towns our size. And that's something that we really should take pride in. That's something that we should stand on top of the hill. We don't have mountains in Iowa, but stand on top of the hill and brag about. Traveling the world with my former job with the Department of Defense, that's one thing. Iowans are very, very modest and they don't want to brag. But that's something that Mason City does need to brag about because we have an amazing park system and, recreation facilities that is unheard of for a town our size.
Everybody knows about East Park. Everybody knows about some of the bigger parks in the community. What are some of the parks that people may just not even know about or are just overlooked that are gems in our community?
I mean, you look at that, and we talked about it last month, Georgia Hanford and that Arboretum. That Arboretum is 39 acres. It has 70 different species of trees and plants that is there. Evans Prairie is one of the only untouched prairies. There's others out there, but there's only a handful in the state of Iowa, untouched prairies that has never been developed or farmed. That Jay Petaley, a volunteer, has stepped up and restored. So there's that park alone, just screams out. Dusty Colby Park. That's in the southwest quadrant of our town. That's a very wonderful park that people just don't know of.
Right.
And then we have a lot of pocket parks and kind of getting back to what I talked about. A lot of communities, they'll have park deserts where there's no parks around, but almost every single neighborhood has that has a park that they can walk to and gather and recreate or just get lost, which is, the most beautiful thing.
And when we look at, the investment in our parks, the city has done a good job of investing in parks and recreation activities here throughout the city.
Yeah. And that's something that I tell you that really has, opportunities have arose for us to move on, but my wife and I have talked. We love Mason City. We're in plants, but over 16 years, this is our kids' hometown, as I always say, and I'm very proud of what we've built. But the investment in the park and recreation, and it's just not recent. It's been years. I mean, you look at McNider Campgrounds. They started that renovation in 2008, 2009. They opened for the first. I got here in 2010, and we're, as I have said in the past, it's one of the highest rated campgrounds in the state of Iowa because they invested in the amenities. They invested in the bathhouse, other things, small things like the disc golf course in 2015. The park board people went to the park board and said, hey, we should redo East Park. disc golf course. We've done that. This later this summer, this fall, I'm actually going to be working with some individuals that I worked with that, and develop another 9-hole course by West Park, Parker's Woods, McNider Woods. That's more of a beginning level disc golf course. This one you obviously throw across water multiple times, so that's going to be for more of a beginner. But then investing in another 18. Our former mayor, Bookmeyer, and that council set forth and really said, hey, we want to be known for a bikeable community. And then they did the master trails plan, and the master bike plan. Didn't have the bike park included, but it talked about, we have all these great trails, but we need to get them connected. So having that forethought of connecting the trails, making our community more bikeable, doing things such as putting bike racks in our downtown, where it makes it the easy choice to do. So we've taken that, we've ran with it. Under Mayor Schickel, they've completed the Highline Trail. We got funding for the Prairie Rock Trails system. We had about 9 pump tracks that have been built in Mason City. There's, I don't know how many miles actually at Lime Creek Conservation Center where we had these individuals through just volunteer groups building these trails for us. Well, they came forth with the vision, and we have constantly produced when the Iowa Economic Development Authority comes and they have grants. So like we did the River City Renaissance, and we performed on that. So when we get calls and say, hey, what's your next project? What are you thinking? Having those groups working with Administrator Burnett and the elected park board and elected council come forth and say, hey, let's do this mountain bike trail. Let's build trails and let's build the park. I do think the vision of that park was there, but without the help of the state of Iowa, with the Destination Iowa money, we wouldn't have gotten the park that we do now. And it's having the forethought of, and the complete investment, like I said, of these groups. It's a volunteer board for active living and transportation, but they were on board saying, hey, this is a great project. You have the elected park board, those 5 individuals saying, hey, yeah, no, this let's continue to invest. And then you had the 6 council members and our elected mayor at the time, all pulling in the same direction. And when we do that, and when we invest in that, that truly gives us the quality of life stuff that we need to thrive at. Other communities are pulling back, and we're saying, you know what, we got to invest in our community. We got to invest in our people. And when you invest in recreation facilities and programs and the parks and the trails, that's investing in the actual people that live in the community. It helps retain people. It helps recruit people to come work at our hospitals, and recruit our jobs throughout our town. It truly is. Like I've said before, I'm a park and rec nerd. So
right, and Governor Reynolds was here at the beginning of the month to go through the bike park as part of her week-long tour through the state with their grandkids, and I know she said right away the kids were scrambling to get out of the Winnebago once it pulled up into the bike park parking lot, and they were definitely very interested to get through see how they could perform at the bike park.
Yeah, and that is the wow factor what we talked about. Yeah. She pulled in and she immediately got off the RV and just said, wow, I can't believe I'm in Iowa. And when they actually do those tourism grants and the destination grants, that's what it was intended for. And for her to see that firsthand, to show that, North Central Iowa does perform, it does great things. And we can walk the walk and talk the talk. It really was. I think they were only scheduled for like 75 minutes to be at the bike park. And they were supposed to get on the road, and I don't know if you heard or not, but they're like, Governor, we need to start wrapping this up. And she's like, no, my grandkids are having fun. and that, I mean, that just says something. And I had the privilege, we were talking, and I said, well, do you want to walk up to the hub? So we walked up to the top tier of the hub so she can actually get a true vast of the park. And she was like, I can't believe the setting where this is, with the forest and the tree line, with the Lime Creek land just to the that would be the east of it as
Right.
we're looking at it. We looked down, one of her grandkids, who just apparently took the training wheels off about a month ago, was riding the pump track, or not the pump track, but the kids track.
Mm-hmm.
She had another grandchild doing the pump track. She had one kid doing the lines. I think they were doing the green line at the time, and then the skill development area. She had the other grandkids, and she could see this mass thing. And as I pointed out, I'm like, this is built for having all abilities and all levels here. And she's like, you guys nailed it. And it was, again, it was just reassuring. And she's like, Brian, you guys knocked it out of the park. And again, I don't want to, I'm not the one taking credit. I mean, that was Matt Curtis. That is Steve Bailey. I'm leaving a ton of people off. I shouldn't even start naming names, right, because you're leaving people off. But there's a vision of 20 some people to make this happen. And it did happen. And it was great. Even though people showed up a little bit later, they had a chance to talk to the governor and talk about how great it was. And it was great because one of the kids actually took the chain off, and they're like, I think your day's done. And Matt Curtis jumps down and fixes the bike within literally 90 seconds. Right. And her whole team was like, oh, wow, that was impressive. So to see the passion, to see these citizens at the bike park was, I thought, truly rewarding. So,
and like you had kind of alluded to, and Governor Reynolds told us when we talked to her at that stop, the Destination Iowa grants. Obviously, we see not only what's going on here in Mason City, but Clear Lake. And Director Durham, has studied this from the Iowa Economic Development Authority about these types of projects. Not only bring people to town from the tourism aspect, they're also something that will get people to live in this community, live in this area. Maybe not, there might be a project in Mason City. They may move to Clear Lake, but hey, we're still getting them to the area and getting them to use our great amenities in this community.
100%. And that, what's good for Clear Lake is good for Mason City and vice versa. Right. So when we got two major grants, them with the Surf District, and us with the bike plan and the bike park. And again, I didn't even cover the 4 trails, additional state-of-the-art trails there. Truly is great, because again, if someone moves to Clear Lake but works in Mason City or vice versa, that benefits both communities. So having that one vision that I do think both community leaders, chambers, city, private businesses have now is fantastic. And we have, like, both communities have greatly benefit from that. So the other thing I want to point out, that I will say big props to Governor Reynolds and a big props to the Iowa Economic Development Authority, but the division under Director Durham is last month. Governor Reynolds actually did a outdoor recreation branch, and she's having citizens, I think it's a 10-person advisory board, to help give the direction of this. But she recognizes that outdoor recreation is a major driver when it comes to economic development, driver for tourism dollars. I don't know how many billions of dollars the state sees from that, and we're starting to see with our investment in the outdoors. It's untapped. It's untapped revenue. It's untapped. It's just an untapped potential there. And having the forethought of doing this, props to the governor and props to the state for recognizing the importance of outdoor tourism. So yeah, this is going to be exciting to see what this task force comes up to be.
Talking with Brian Pauly from the Mason City Parks and Recreation Department here on your hometown news station, AM 1300 KGLO. Parks and recreation, every, age level can enjoy it. Every economic level in our community can enjoy our parks and our recreation programs. And I know you've done a kind of a studied breakdown on what your tax dollar will bring to the community when we talk about parks and recreation.
Yeah, no. So that's actually, I want to hit that. There's two things that I want to hit before I go through this, the stats. And you said this is we truly serve all ages of the community. We have our beginning to swim programs for those 1 and 2 year olds. We have toddler programs in the rec office, all the way through our having seniors play pickleball, walk on our trails, bike and walk on our paths. So everything in between, from youth sports to adult sports, to concerts, golf, camping, we truly do serve all ages, and hopefully all residents utilize the great stuff we have. The other thing I do want to point out, and again, this is where I hate to say we're essential, because I think actually, if you break down, I think every city service is essential. But why I say we're essential is, if you think about it, the parks, especially our parks department and even our rec programs, we see people on their best day and we see people on their worst day. If a loved one, passing of a loved one, where do they go? They go to reflect in the park. Mm-hmm. Prom, wedding pictures, are taken throughout our town. A lot of times, the Heart Rock in East Park, the Cannonball Gardens. It is that we see people on their best days and their worst days, and that's why. If you view our parks are just places we mow and that's it, but it's truly a gathering space. It's truly great for the mental soul, and mental wellness. That's the importance from our parks. So I digress, but yes, I worked with our city assessor. So the average house is a little less than $150,000, and I have the direct stuff if you ever need it. But the average house last year paid in taxes paid taxes that went to park and recreation was $129.60. That, for the average house, that's what they paid. And it is crazy to think, for that $129.60, what everyone gets. We run reduced programs and free events for the community. We did that 56 times. We have a free disc golf course. We have a world-class golf course with competitive and very good rates. We have 2 swimming pools in our aquatic center. The outdoor lap pool is the largest in the state of Iowa. We have 15 open park shelters to use. Those park shelters, some are reserved for a fee, but others are just free, first come, first serve. As I stated before, we have 40 parks, over 820 acres of parkland / green spaces, 28 playgrounds that are all free, over 57 miles of trails. We have 13 pump track trails throughout our community, 4 tennis courts, 12 pickleball courts, a dog park. And I digress I'm just going to digress. And that's another thing where some citizens said, hey, we should have this dog park. They worked with the Mason City Park and Recreation Board, and they took some flood buyout land and created a dog park. And I think they did a fantastic job. So a lot of these projects come from citizens' ideas. So if you have any idea, there's no bad ideas. So come, and some things aren't going to be feasible. Some things might say, hey, that's a good idea, but I don't know how to pay for it. But if you have stuff, come talk to me, email me, because we can put it in the hopper of ideas, because I have ideas out there. I just got to figure out how to execute them. So something that you used to use quite a bit, we have the oldest band shell in the state of Iowa. I suppose most people don't realize that in East Park, but then we also have the brand new principal performing art pavilion, indoor outdoor, down by Southbridge Mall, and goes into our pavilions. We have 11 softball and baseball fields. In our parks, we have 7 full court basketball courts, 8 half court basketball courts. We have a campground, McNider Campgrounds, what we've talked about, one of the top in the States. We have a skate park along with all the biking stuff. I don't bring that up enough out at Big Blue. We have an outdoor rink. Unfortunately, it hasn't been that cold the last couple summers to get that to do, but we have an outdoor rink, and I actually know that we have some inline people using that as a summer hockey place to practice. We have a ton of places to fish. The Iowa DNR has cut back the number of stockings, but because of our winter stocking with them and the continuing partnership we do with the Iowa DNR, we get 3 stockings when that's been cut back to 1 at most communities, or 0. We have the historic 1912 Cannonball, that steam engine that was restored. Again, Dennis Wilson and the Friends of the 457, they have done amazing things to do that. We have a veterans monument in our Central Park that, again, we're actually redoing some concrete this summer to actually make it a little bit nicer down in that area. But we have a monument, and then again we have the Arboretum down at Georgia Hanford Park. That's a lot for $129.60.
That's quite a investment by people to take advantage of, even if it's just going to the park and, like you say, enjoying a nice lunch or just taking a break to, a mental break down at the park. That's well worth the $129.
100%. And again, that's less than $11 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, if you look at it that way, and again, I take pride in it. Obviously, the citizens here, our residents, should take pride. It's just great. And I'm going to say this, we can't do it by ourselves as the city. We have 150 community partners, and that's everything from doing an event with us, like the Moonlight Movie Crew, that's a volunteer group, to some of our business sponsors that sponsor events and youth sports teams. So I'm not going to name names because I'm going to, out of the 150 some, it's going to, I'm going to leave people out. But I did mention other government agencies that we're working with, Iowa DNR, the County Conservation, Cerro Gordo Conservation Board through Lime Creek. Next month we have Nature Camp at Lime Creek, and it's a great partnership between the 2 government agencies. So our school district. So it's everyone, like I said before, it's everyone pulling in the same direction to make special things like this happen.
And one group of people that I know you've mentioned a few times, but I want to point out, you have one of the few elected park boards in the state.
Yes. I actually got in a debate with someone a couple months ago, and I won a lunch bet because they thought this was more common. And through AI, I will flat out say AI, they actually looked at records, and I think less than 2% of Iowa towns have an elected park board above, I think it was above 5,000 they checked. So I don't even know how many qualify for that, but there's only a handful of elected park and recreation board people. And that takes a lot because, again, you're asking someone to volunteer their time. And these men and women do more than just one night a month on a Tuesday. They're people that are working hard, listening to citizens, and to put yourself out there, just like any elected official position, and maybe not get elected. That's a big ask. And for all the men and women that have served on that board in my 16 years, I'm very grateful because they've all challenged me in certain ways. They've all we've all became better because of the diverse board that we have. And currently there's a number of people on that. I have one of the board members is very interested in working with the Disc Golf Association. I have two board members that are on the Prairie Playground project that's coming forth, I believe probably next month to City Council, and we'll do a presentation on that. So again, it's all of those people, but I tell you too, talking to all of the councilmen and women that I've worked with on the council too, they care. I mean, because that's the thing that people like parks. It's a unifying, and recreation. It's a unifying topic that everyone wants to get back, because again, this is common space that everyone can use, no matter income, no matter anything about you. Parks are always welcoming, and that's amazing to do.
Sir, we're out of time. Otherwise, I know we could go another half an hour. We're talking about park stuff. Quick, you want to say something?
Real fast. I want to end with this. Park and recreations isn't about having nice parks. It's about building a healthier, stronger, and more connected community. When people choose where to live, work, share visits, quality of life matters, and park and recreation is a big part of that equation.
Well stated. Very well stated. So we'll talk to you next month at this time. Appreciate you stopping in as always.
Thank you so much, Bob.
All righty. Brian Pauly with the Mason City Parks and Recreation Department. Our monthly conversation here in your hometown news station, AM 13.